very good morning to you and welcome to Just Africa. We are reaching you live from our studios in the commercial city of Lagos. I am Oyinpreye Krumale. Now, where it is a program where we connect the dots between ambition and action across the continent's dynamic business landscape. Today, we dive deep into a critical engine of Africa's transformation, the rise of small and medium-sized enterprises and their journey from local champions to pan-African powerhouses across the continent. SMEs account for over 80% of employment and contribute significantly to the GDP, from Nigeria's fintech boom to Kenya's agri-tech revolution, from Ghana's fast-scaling fashion labels to South Africa's logistics disruptors. These enterprises are not just businesses, they are catalysts of innovation, job creation, and economic diversification. But a bold question remains, as a lot of people have asked, how can African SMEs scale beyond borders to become a continental giant? What leadership models, systems, and mindsets do they need to thrive across the diverse markets, languages, and regulations? Joining us today is a voice of insight and clarity on this challenge, Wale Adekanla, Scalable leadership expert, international speaker, and executive coach who has helped businesses grow sustainably across the multiple African markets. With his guidance, we explore leadership DNA required to scale from city to country and from country to the entire continent. Good morning to you, Mr. Wale Adekanla.
Thank you for having me today.
Adekanla, right?
Yeah, Adekanla.
Adekanla, welcome to Just Africa.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. I'm Olumide. It's glad to have you also.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Welcome
that.
to Just Africa. Yes, most times I make it known to our viewers that the profile of most of our guests are quite robust and long, but for the purpose of the program, we tend to short it to give it an abridged version of that. So it's okay, I should let you know that.
No problem.
Now let's jump into the meat of the conversation. I tend to see what we're talking about today, a crucial part of it is leadership.
Yeah.
So I would like to start from the leadership architecture that governs businesses, that enable businesses to scale from one level to the other. So what trait of business, what trait of leader or leadership do you think is most appropriate for business to scale through the different ranks to that continental level?
Wow, thank you very much for that wonderful question. Let's start with this. Today in Africa, we don't have the shortage of opportunities or ideas. We have the shortage of leadership scaling gaps. We have the challenge of scaling leadership because most businesses start very strong, and that, of course, that could be a ministry, it could be a government agency, it could be maybe a startup business, start very strong. And I've seen that across Africa, I've seen that globally. It's not just an African issue, it's a global challenge. But to tailor it down to Africa, most businesses, when they start growing, they hit a ceiling. We call it growth ceiling. Because the business is founder dependent, not system dependent. And that's the big challenge. Most entrepreneurs don't understand what it means to structure systems and to have a leadership shift from a founder dependent to a system dependent. And what does that really mean? Everything rises and falls on leadership. Johnson Maxwell. I'm an executive director on Johnson Maxwell team globally. And one of the challenges we see when we're coaching leaders, whether in ministry, in government, or in business, is that most people, most leaders specifically, they have the challenge of creating leadership pipelines. And let's start with this. You're starting a business. That's the first level. You have the idea. You want to fill a gap. You want to test your product. And you want to release a particular solution to the world. Fantastic. That is the first level. We have 7 levels. Most businesses in Africa, when they start from the first level as a founder, they move to the second level, the growth level. Because the founder level is what we call the explorer level. You're exploring. You're testing your product, whether the product is market fit or not. Then you move into the growth level. The growth level is what I call the architect level, where you start designing systems and processes. And that requires leadership. Because at the founder level, you could be a business practitioner, a hustler. You are the HR. You are the creator. You are the director.
Marketer.
You are the marketer. You are the sales director. You are everything. Which, of course, that's the norm. That's the way it should be. You start the move. But the moment you move from the first level to the second level, the growth level, then you need to become an architect. You need to become a designer. You need to become someone who starts creating systems and processes. And that requires a shift. Most people have the challenge of creating that shift from moving from being the hustler into the person who is creating the systems and processes. Now, when you get to the second level, being the architect, most people also hit the ceiling at that level. They can't move to the third level, which of course is what I call the scale level. The scale level requires a new dimension of leadership mindset. There is a need for another shift there. From moving from an architect to becoming a strategist. A strategist here is not just someone who is designing systems and processes. Now you are thinking about creating teams, moving from a founder-led business to a team-led business, whereby you are not the asset anymore. You are now building something that will become the asset.
Okay. So I'll just keep quiet and let you just go on and on. But at what level, at what time do you discover or you know that it's a shift right now from the finder level to the other next level where you start building systems, then to the third level? At what time do you discover that as an entrepreneur, as someone who has started the process?
Fantastic, great question here. I think, in fact, this is one of the things I usually do with, with a lot of students we coach globally, because we have to be practical, breaking it down to let people understand. It's not just about what we say; it's about being intentional. Growth could be accidental, but scaling is intentional. You can't scale accidentally. You have to be intentional. That means you need to have the right mindset, the right skill set, and the right tool sets. When you start as a founder, and that could be, ministry, it could be a business, or maybe you're starting an agency, of course, a government parastatal, or whatever organization. If you want to move from the first level to the second level, let me use a business as a case study here.
Yes, please.
You're starting a business, and now you are testing your product, if the product is market fit or not. You're selling the idea to people. So let's use a product or a service as an example. The moment you have at least 10 customers, now these customers are not repeatable customers yet, and that's the value of system.
Okay.
Because system helps you to create a repeatable framework in your business or your organization. So if you have at least 10 clients or 10 customers who are patronizing your product or your services, then there is a need for you to start thinking about creating systems and processes. That is you becoming the architect who designs systems and processes. One of them is what I call documentation, of course. Of course, we have delegation, we have different systems and processes. If we get there, of course, we're going to talk about that. Now, once we have that, move to become the architect. Start designing systems and processes. And what does that really mean? So you're trying to document everything you do. Because you want to now start bringing people on board. For example, you want to bring in someone who's going to be focusing on your marketing or focusing on your sales, right? Or maybe an executive assistant, at least someone to support you so that you can let go some tasks and focus on the major things, right? And of course, that is the essence of that shift. Right now, you need to start thinking about getting the help that you need because you can't do everything. If you want to expand, you need to multiply yourself and reproduce yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Now, looking at scaling up, you mentioned that you need to first build a team. And once you build that team, you know, the workload is reduced. So my question now is, when you build that team, you know, in Nigeria is a very peculiar country whereby we have CEOs. After they build the team, they still make decisions. So when is the right time to say, okay, hands off, let me let this team lead while I just take the back seat and maybe I just get reports and final decisions, you know, decisions that can be made, you know, without me. When is the right time?
Wow, you actually ask one of the most important questions. And that's when a founder moves from being the architect to becoming the strategist. As the owner of the business, as the CEO, you can't leave all, you know, everything to everyone. You still have to be present. You can't be absent in your business. And we have to be clear about that because I see many trainings out there where people will say founder-led system versus system-led system. As a system-led, you know, a system, you just get away completely. I said, no. You can't be absent completely. However, you leave the small task to go to the bigger task. Okay? You leave something to go to something bigger. And that's why vision is in phases. So when you leave some small task, you know, because you have to prioritize what is urgent, what is not urgent, what is necessary, what is not necessary. For example, practically. So let's say as a CEO, you have, you've measured your own value and you're saying, okay, my value is 1 million naira, for example, using our currency, 1 million naira per hour. That's my value. That's what I bring to my business every day. Okay, so divide that by 4. Okay, that would be 250,000 per hour. So anything below a quarter of your own value that you bring in every day, you need to let go. Hire someone to take over that task. Practically. So when you hire someone to take over that task, you go to a bigger task. That's why you can expand from you becoming a 2 million per hour founder because you have somebody who is assisting you. For example, that could be your EA who is taking all your tasks, scheduling, making some calls, let go some calls, and you can focus on some strategic thing because you want to become a strategist, not just someone who designs systems and processes. So it's important to have that shift from building the team. Now, building the team, because you want to have a team-led organization, a team that is independent on your own decisions. You are bringing in experts. When you bring in experts to help you to build your business, your job is not to be telling them what to do. So if you have all the answers, why do you need your team? They are experts. They are in there to support you, to help you build the business. So your job is to paint the picture. Vision is very strategic. You have to be clear. That's where clarity comes in. Bringing in the right people and positioning them on the right seats. Most founders make that mistake. So, for example, they hire their brother or their sister to come and help them to scale the business. A sister that does not have the right skill set, you know, because of sentiment, they put people there. It's not by emotions. It's by focusing on capacity. And that's where leadership capacity comes in, because you want to multiply and expand leadership capacity within your organization so that your team can make that decision. If your team is not scalable, you can't scale it, because not every team is scalable.
All right. One more question. I've seen some companies whereby, in order to scale up their business, they hire consultants to manage the business, but sometimes they come in once in a while. So my question is, when you hire a consultant, is there a specific time frame, 2 years, 3 years? What is the right time frame to allow this consultant do what they need to do, then you come back and take over. That is if you want to.
Well, to answer that question, I think it depends on the situation. It depends on the situation because we consult for companies. It depends on the challenge.
Maybe
it depends
the company is not making money?
Exactly. In fact, I call it system alert. We just created a model called ADAPT model. The number one in that ADAPT model, which is the A, is system alert. In every organization, in every family, in every nation, in every continent, there is an alert. Okay. An alert that tells you there is a need for change. And that's why I don't teach change management anymore. I teach change leadership. Because change managers, they manage whatever that is in existence. But change leaders come in, disrupt, and create new systems that works and that scales, that create the sustainable capacity for that system to continue to live after them. So a change leader comes in there if you have a consultant, because not every consultant can create the kind of change you need. Right now, I challenge a lot of consultants right now. When they go into the businesses, they just want to make money, but not to create sustainable change there. So it's important for the founder to, first of all, bring in the right person. And it depends on the solution that the person wants to deliver that determines the time frame. As a founder or a CEO or an executive, bringing in a consultant to support you, you can't be absent. You can't be absent.
At no point.
You can't be absent. You have to be present. You have to be around. You have to lead. You are not saying go to your people. You are saying let's go. That's why leaders lead. You are not saying it. You are doing it. Because it's contagious. It's not something you're just telling people to do. People see you doing it because you are leading the way. John Maxwell says that the leader is the one who knows the way, who goes the way, and shows the way.
Great. Though we are due for a break, but before we go for the break, I needed you to attend to this question in just 2 minutes. Africa has a peculiar business landscape with so many challenges that are confronting us at this moment in time. Is that in Rwanda, people look at Paul Kagame as the one who is belling the cat in the continent when it comes to change, disruptive, like the way you call it, transformative change at this moment in time. And so we are looking at Africa as a whole, or a few countries that you can reference.
Yeah.
As it is at the moment, what are the kind of businesses in the continent of Africa that investors should be looking at to go in there to disrupt the system, create a new wave with the target or the instrument in view, African Continental Free Trade Area? So can we briefly attend to that before?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll try to be brief.
Yes. No,
I have a lot in my head.
When we're due for a break, I'll just tell you to pause. We go, then we'll come back. You can continue in your line of thought.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's start with this. Africa is a very beautiful continent, very unique. 54 countries, more than 8,000 tribes, more than 3,000 languages. That's unique. I love the diversity. However, it's important to know the culture, know the nation, understand the systems, understand the compliance. There are different things that we need to consider when it comes to business or scaling the business, right? I want to use Rwanda as an example because you mentioned Rwanda. Think about the Ministry of Innovation. They have some system in place. When I did a study about it, I was like, wow, that's interesting. They have their KPI systems. Now, remember, I'm using system. KPI system. They have their team charter system. They have their leadership pipeline systems that they have in place. So when a minister comes in, a minister is not coming in to build everything on personality. You are coming in to improve the system that is in place already. So it's not personality dependent. It is system dependent. And that's where innovation comes in. That's where disruption comes in, because disruption is good. Many times we run away from disruption. Oh, there's a problem here. In fact, that's when we need to run towards disruption, because there is something beautiful after disruption. We need to look at it as value. So for us, it's important to think, for example, looking at Ministry of Innovation in Rwanda, that's a very good case study. You are not coming into a system, you are not creating a business, you are not creating an organization or an agency or a parastatal to just, for everyone to focus on you. No, because you are not the asset. You shouldn't be the asset. To create a sustainable change, you are not the asset. The system should be the asset, and that's how the system can outlive the individual. That's when the system can create legacy, because legacy is not just what you leave behind. No, legacy is what continues to work when you stop working, and that's what we need to focus on as Africans, whether you're in business, whether you're in ministry, or whether you are in government. So if you think about the tech companies, Andela, for example, Andela started as a developer, started in one city, in Nigeria, and look at Andela now, globally, functioning globally, because they've decentralized their leadership. Whether in Nairobi, whether in Ghana, or even in the United Kingdom, in the US, they have their systems everywhere. Why? Because they've diversified and they understand how to decentralize leadership, how to create leadership pipelines, how to create boards across the border, not just within the region, not just having Nigerians Nigerians being the board members, but having a board member who is focusing on compliance in, let's say, for example, Rwanda, let's say, for example, in Kenya. So it's easier to scale when you have people who understand the systems in a different country in order to bring in your business and make everything seamless for you. It's systematic. If we study the banking industry, they use the same system as well.
Okay.
For example, you look at UBA, you look at First Bank, you look at all of them. They have this decentralized leadership, whereby if you go to different African countries, more than 20 of them, for example, the banking industries, more than 20 of them, they have that same system.
Right there. Thank you very much. So we're going to continue with that line of thought. You're still watching Just Africa, and we are reaching you live from our studios of Sook News Television. We're going to break briefly, and when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's Just Africa. We're still reaching you live from our studios. We still have Mr. Wale Adekanla in the studio, a scalable business expert, an international global standard. Oh, it's a global skill, like I was saying earlier. He's an international coach in this line. He helps to restructure and fashion the DNAs of businesses that wants to scale up. Welcome once again to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, so you were addressing the line of thought about businesses that are peculiar to environments in Africa, and looking at the scalable leadership to be able to drive them, take them from point A to point B, and maybe taking advantage of the African continental free trade area.
Yes.
Yes, please go on.
Thank you. So let me quickly address something. Because people ask me this question often about what should I do to help my business to grow, to scale? Because grow doesn't mean you're scaling. So what can I really do? I received that question everywhere. Now, I would love to address that now, so that at least to help our audience.
Yes.
There's something we call pattern.
Pattern.
And it's important for us to recognize it. There are 3 levels of pattern. The first one is what I call the pattern recognition. Now, pattern recognition is very critical. It's a systematic principle that every entrepreneur needs to understand. Okay. What is working, or what worked? What exactly is really working? Thinking about all these global conglomerates, thinking about all these enterprises globally, people who have done it. Studying pattern is very critical, because history is more important than money. when we understand history, when we understand the people who have done it, organizations that have done it, I think that is very critical in creating the kind of change that we really need, or the kind of change that you need in your own particular business to build what you're really, desiring, or the vision that you have seen. So the first thing is pattern recognition. Someone has done it before. An organization has scaled already. Why can't you study what they've done? Study what they've done. Before we created a conference, for example, that we do annually in the United States, Wale Conference, before we started that, we studied at least 7 global conferences. I called our team together, and I gave them the information. Could you please just study this? Then we came back to what I call leadership table. Everyone contributed, and I listened. In fact, that is the job of the executives. Listen more, talk less. So I listened to everybody. They brought up great ideas. And then we use all the ideas to create a system that we're using today. And we just keep on improving that system to impact executives and businesses. So pattern recognition. Number 2 is pattern usage. Once you recognize pattern, then the next thing is, okay, what worked? What didn't work? How did they fail? Okay, what lessons did they learn? Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So, okay, now use the pattern, start applying it, start talking to people, creating systems and processes around the pattern that worked and those that did not work. All right, stepping away from them. Then the next thing is pattern creation. So you're using the pattern, now create new patterns. That is going to lead me to what I call the scalable leadership framework, which I'm going to talk about briefly, if time permits. Scalable leadership framework is a systematic framework in scaling leadership across organizations, across levels within an organization. How can you scale leadership as an entrepreneur or as an organization? Very critical. Now, we have intrapreneurs and we have entrepreneurs. Now, as an intrapreneurs and an entrepreneurs. Now, an entrepreneur is someone, of course, that works within the organization who has the business mindset, who is innovative. Now, an entrepreneur is someone who is building. Of course, you've seen a vision, you have an idea, you are building something significant to create an impact, okay, within an ecosystem or within an industry, and you want to scale that globally. So, when we talk about a scalable leadership framework, the first level is leading yourself. You cannot equip and lead others if you are not equipping and leading yourself. That's where everything starts from. Scalable leadership starts with you leading yourself first.
Okay, just a moment. Now, you're still watching the program. We'll go on a break. We'll be back in a moment. Please do join us again. Welcome back, many thanks for joining us on the program. You were talking about a scalable leadership framework. Yes. Please continue with your line of perspective.
Yes, so like I said, everything starts with you leading you. Lead yourself. You cannot lead and equip others if you are not leading and equipping yourself. Because there is something called the leadership lead, LID. Now, your business, your family, your nation, your organization, your team cannot outgrow you. So if you are on level 5, for example, let's say from 1 to 10, if you're at level 5, if your leadership capacity is at level 5, your team, everything that you lead will be below that level 5. So if you want to move, you want your organization to move to level 5, then you have to move to level 6 or 7.
Okay.
Because your leadership capacity will determine the growth of everything you lead. So everything starts with you leading yourself. When you start leading yourself, then you can now move to the second level, leading a small team. And this is very practical even within organizations. You have to be a producer before you can start reproducing others. reproducing leadership in others. So you are leading yourself. Then you need to start leading others. Now, there are some skill set and mindset that are very critical at this level, level 2. To be a successful level 2 leader, for example, coaching is very critical. Mentorship is very critical. Those are skill sets. People don't just acquire them accidentally. They have to be intentional for them to grow to that level. Because right now, you are leading implementers. You are leading people who are doing what you were doing. Because now you are leading a team. Yeah. You are leading a group of people. You are not managing the team. You are leading the team. Now, the third level is what I call the team of teams. And here, at this level, the level 3 leader is someone who is now leading several teams, leading leaders who are leading teams, right? So now you need to understand you need to increase your capacity, let me put it that way, by understanding team dynamics, understanding how to work with other leaders, how to coach them, how to mentor them, how to measure performance and different KPIs. You need to have your own performance dashboard at that level, building and scaling leadership. The fourth level is what I call the portfolio leader or the organizational leader. Now you're talking about the executives, the VPs, the SVPs and different, executives at that level. If we're also talking about, if we're talking about ministries, if we are talking about government agencies, we're talking about executives, we're talking about the senior leaders, people who are senior, in senior positions within the agencies or within the ministries. I call them ladder holders. Then the fifth level is what I call the enterprise level, and that is the pinnacle of leadership. And right now we're talking about Pan-Africa, and that's why this is very critical. At that level, we're talking about scaling beyond yourself.
Yes.
Scaling beyond borders. Scaling beyond borders. And building the right capacity that will help everyone to understand the legacy that you are building. It is not about you right now. It's about the legacy that you are building. It's about what works when you stop working. It's about the leadership multiplication effect that you have built while you are working. So because you have stepped back, that means you have built a system that can continue to work when you step back. And that's what it means to scale leadership, to multiply leadership capacity within and across the organization.
All right. So I'd like to ask you a question. Scaling up leadership and all that, scaling up business, it all requires some financial, stuff. So my question is, for leaders, how can they ensure financial sustainability, during this rapid growth or rapid regional growth? How can they ensure that, financial sustainability?
Great question. Thank you very much for that. In fact, I'm going to be direct. Everything is not about the capital. In fact, the reason why most businesses are not scaling is not because of the lack of capital. It's because of the lack of network. One of the things I tell young entrepreneurs is that you need to understand sponsorship. You need to submit yourself and look for sponsors. You need to put yourself in the right room. You need to create the right relationships. It's not about you. It's about someone who is speaking or talking about you when you are not in the room. Who is that person? Sponsorship is very critical in entrepreneurship. To build and to scale, to expand, sponsorship is very critical. If you ask a young entrepreneur, an average entrepreneur, they don't understand the capacity of sponsorship. Number 2, coaching. Coaching is intentional. You can't get out of coaching. You need to look for someone who can guide you, who can show you what you are doing wrong, and point some things and ask you the right questions so that you can think right. Then the third one is mentorship.
All right.
Mentorship.
Go on.
The third one is mentorship, like I said. So mentorship is very critical. Someone has done it before. Because coaching is different from mentorship.
Okay.
They are not the same thing. A mentor your mentor might not be your coach. Okay. So because someone is mentoring you, someone who has produced the result before, you want to become a successful entrepreneur, you need to look for someone who is successful in that area. And of course, study others who have also done other things in other industries and study the pattern, like pattern I mentioned, pattern recognition, what works, and then follow the same pattern, use the pattern, and create new patterns that could help your business or your organization to grow, to scale, to renew, to expand, so that you can reorganize and then soar, so that you can build the right systems that you need in order for your business to continue to create the legacy that you have seen.
All right, now, so mentorship and it mentioned mentorship and
coaching and
yeah.
sponsorship.
So my question is, coaching and mentorship quite different.
Yes.
Whoever you are getting to coach you and whoever you're getting to mentorship, should they necessarily be in that same field as the entrepreneur, or they could be in any other field? For mentorship, for instance, must the person who's mentoring you be in the same line of business with you, or it's just someone who has attained a certain level of financial success?
I recommend someone in your industry. I recommend that. You can learn from everyone. Okay, but if you want to build something that is sustainable, something that is something that will create the legacy that you want, look for someone who has done it in that same industry. And here is the advantage: you can get direct answer from them because they know exactly what they've done wrong, and they can tell you, "Don't go that way.
Don't go that way.
I was there." All right, that's a mentor. Direct answer. A coaching could be different. Okay. Because a coach does not have to be in your industry. I've coached many people who are not in my industry, of course, because a coach is a guide. A coach is not the one who provides the answer. And that's why the skill set is important in level 2 leadership. You are not providing an answer. You are asking the right question so that they can think and create the answers. For example, there is a system I call 131 that I use in our organization. It's a delegation system and it's a coaching system that helps everyone to start thinking strategically. Without you providing the answers, they become the answers. So they're not coming to you as with all their problems, but they're coming with solutions. 131, one problem, 3 viable solutions, and 1 recommendation. So one of my managers, very long time, probably 5 years ago, came to me and said, "Sir, here's a problem." I said, "Fantastic, sit down. I want to teach you something today, 131. And after teaching you, you need to start using the same system for everyone that you lead. And that's how to scale systems within organizations. Teach what you know, use it practically, and help them to also use it so that it goes across the organization." So 131 for all my leaders. Number 1, you've come with this problem. Could you please go back and think about 3 viable solutions, okay? And then come back with 1 recommendation. Can I surprise you? This man came back the second day because he told me, he said, "Sir, this will take me 2 days," all right? But he returned the second day and he came back with powerful recommendations. I asked for 1. He came back with 2. And I was surprised because the recommendations he gave, actually, they were better than what I was thinking.
Oh,
he gave better ideas. I wouldn't have thought about what he brought. And that helped us to actually increase that capacity and even increase our revenue because of those ideas.
Okay. So what I want to just say now is, in rounding up, what do you say to the budding Nigerian, Rwandan, Ghanaian, Senegalese, Kenyan entrepreneur who probably is at that first level and is finding it difficult to go to the second level? Maybe you say a word of what they need to do at this point in time. Most especially, he has asked the question about financing. When the bank is telling you, we need collateral for this, and you don't have it, and they want to move to the next level, and that could just be the deciding factor.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to encourage everyone that is watching me right now, wherever you are in Africa, to move to the second level or to increase your capacity. Number 1, increase your network. Increase your network so that you can increase your net worth. Here is why this is very critical. I mentioned sponsorship. It's important to be in the right room because efficiency is different from effectiveness. Many times, many founders and entrepreneurs, they are efficient but not effective. They are just managing processes. They are running the race. They are hustlers. And that's okay to start from there. But you can't stay there if you want to grow and scale. You need to start going to the right room, being in the right environment, asking the right questions, and talking to the right people. For example, it is very strategic to ask for help. Don't just sit there. In our culture, people just want to figure things out themselves. Ask for help and go to the right room. Submit yourself to a mentor, because you can actually get into the midst of mentors, whether by paying to be in the room or by serving to be in the room.
Great.
And that's why I want to encourage every entrepreneur who wants to move to the second level. Think about sponsorship. Think about increasing your net worth. Very critical. And then submit to mentors. Submit to mentorship is very critical. Serve someone. Learn from them. Get all their materials. That's why I write books. We're going to release a book in July, on July 26th. Lead and Scale is the title of the book. I believe that this book is going to change. It's going to change the business world. Oh, yeah. And why am I writing this book? I'm writing it because we want to launch it during our summit we have coming up July 26th. Of course, Scalable Leadership Summit here in Lagos at Marriott. And it's very critical for businesses to have this understanding that they have to think about creating the legacy, but you need to think sponsorship, you need to think mentorship, and you need to think coaching in order to scale yourself, become the leader that you really want to be, and then to build the organization that you have seen.
Thank you so much. That is Mr. Wale, I'll call him Dr. Wale Adekanla, Scalable Leadership Expert, international speaker and executive coach who has helped businesses grow sustainably across multiple African countries and indeed the globe. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning on Just Africa.
Thank you for having me.
And this is where we draw the curtain on the program. Many thanks for watching. I'm Oyinpreye Krumale.